You set a goal for yourself and then you only try for a few days or a few weeks. You find yourself quitting or falling off the wagon way before seeing any of the results that you want. You tell yourself you're going to do something for a goal that you have and then seemingly do the exact opposite. You won't do things unless you can do it perfectly. You keep putting off important tasks that you know you should be doing. You know what you want, but you seem to keep standing in your own way. You might feel like there's just something wrong with you, but in reality, our brains are just kind of wired to be this way. But I want to help you navigate that. So today, I want to give you practical things you can do to help yourself stop self-sabotaging and get out of your own way. In this video, I'm going to go over what self-sabotage is, why we do it, and what you can do to help yourself actually take action in alignment with your dream self and your dream life. Hi and welcome back to the channel. If you are new around here, my name is Brianna and around here we chat everything wellness, self-improvement, and taking action in alignment with who you want to be and the life you want to create. So if that is something you are looking to do, subscribe and stick around. So let's chat about what self-sabotage actually looks like. It's when we do things that prevent us from the outcomes we want. It's when we do things that hold us back from reaching our goals. It can look like consistently engaging in actions and behaviors that don't align with the life you want to create or the goals that you have for yourself. It can look like having goals, but then making the things or actions that will actually get you to your goal seem really complicated or exhausting or like stuff that you really just don't want to do in your head. It can look like reverting to old or familiar patterns when there's an opportunity for growth. It can look like actively avoiding the things that you know will help get you to your goals. Sometimes even convincing yourself that you don't even know if those actions will get you to your goals. It can look like being scared of failing or not doing it right, so you actively avoid doing the thing, or continuously coming up with excuses of why you can't do the thing. It can look like seeing yourself start to make some progress and then somehow something comes up in your life where you no longer have the time or energy to keep working on making progress toward that goal. It can also look like convincing yourself that you don't even want that thing anymore. Self-sabotage is a fun time. Sometimes it is very obvious that we are sabotaging our goals because we watch ourselves actively not do the things that we know are going to get us there. But other times it may be really tricky to spot and we may not even realize that we even are self-sabotaging. But just by listening to some of those examples of how it might show up, that may have sparked some awareness for you of, oh yeah, okay, yep, I do that. Know that self-sabotage is a very normal human process. Our brains at their core are basically wired to attain reward and avoid threat, to seek familiarity and comfort and safety. And that survival mechanism is helping inform and influence our actions and behaviors. So all that to say, there is nothing innately wrong with you. We all deal with this in some way. Our brains are just being a brain. And I personally have found that better understanding why we self-sabotage helps us just have a better understanding of ourselves and helps us have more compassion for our own actions and behaviors, which can be really helpful in us actually changing. So ultimately, self-sabotage is a protective mechanism. Our brains are protecting us from harm, from the unknown, from discomfort, from things we perceive may hurt us, whether that's physically or emotionally. Our brains are wired to avoid things that may seem challenging or unfamiliar because it's safer. On top of that, our brains are wired to conserve energy. They are wired to do what we are most used to doing because that takes less energy from the brain. So just as a whole, just by being a human with a brain, we are far more likely to do things that we are most used to doing, to continue to stick with our habitual thoughts and actions. Again, it's just the brain being the brain. Our inner beliefs also play a role in our self-sabotage because what we believe directly influences what we do. So believing that we might not be capable, not believing we can really trust ourselves, any beliefs around fears we have, those are all going to play a role in what we do. And it's also really helpful to understand a lot of our really deep core-seated beliefs come from our childhood. I know most of us have probably heard that before, but just understanding that what we were told, what we experienced, what we saw, our environment, those all help shape some of our beliefs from a very young age. Maybe we picked up a belief that we weren't good enough. Maybe we picked up a belief that we weren't going to be successful in our endeavors, that we wouldn't be able to accomplish something. Maybe we picked up a belief that taking risks or stepping out of our comfort zone was bad. Maybe we watched our mom continuously diet and never feel good enough in her body, and maybe we picked up the belief that we can't feel good enough in our body, or that continuously trying to eat healthier or have a healthier lifestyle just leads to more dissatisfaction. And it's really helpful to just be aware of these beliefs to understand what's going on in our brain. Instead of having those beliefs be there, but they're kind of under the surface where we're not really aware of them, and especially not very aware of how involved they are in our thoughts and actions. Having more awareness of them helps us see where they are influencing our thoughts and actions. It makes it so much easier to actually choose something different, or even play devil's advocate with those beliefs and choose a new belief. Ideally one that better aligns with who we want to be or our goals or the life that we're looking to create. There could also be a lack of self-regulation skills, which is probably the case for most of us. Those are not skills a lot of us are taught. But those are the type of skills that help us lean into delayed gratification versus instant gratification, that help us experience emotions and discomfort and be able to sit with them rather than letting them run the show. And usually letting our emotions direct our actions does not align super well with our goals. And sometimes there is just a true lack of awareness of what we're doing. Especially in today's world, we have so many distractions at our disposal constantly, and it is very easy to just simply not have full awareness of all of our actions. So let's go ahead and talk about what we can actually do about all of this. One of the main things that will help you actually change your behaviors and get out of your own way is to have more awareness. Not just more awareness of the thing that you're doing, but also all the circumstances around it. We want to try to seek understanding of the situation because it's really hard to change what you don't know. So it's so helpful to get a better understanding of what is happening. What are the circumstances? What led to me doing that thing? What maybe led to me avoiding doing that thing? And of course, we all probably want to just be able to hear certain words or hear a certain mindset, and then boom, we're a changed person. Now we completely show up the way we want to be. Of course, we all want a simple and easy solution. But unfortunately, that's not really how things tend to work. We have to allow ourselves to sit in the discomfort and put in the time and effort to look at these things and do things differently to see the changes that we want. So I want you to think of a very specific example from your own life that you would consider self-sabotage. So again, either something that you do that is actively avoiding doing something that would get you to a goal that you have or an outcome that you desire, or doing something that directly opposes that. And just use that as your own example here. So when you're looking at your own self-sabotaging behaviors, you really want to examine and question your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns. Again, we're trying to seek understanding of ourselves and what all is going on up here that is influencing what we're doing. So it's so helpful to pay attention to, okay, what kind of mindset do I have that's maybe feeding into this action? What kind of beliefs do I have that's maybe feeding into this action? And just in general, paying more attention to your mindsets and beliefs and just questioning, is this beneficial for me? Is this helping me show up in the way I want to, or doing the opposite? We want to look at where our mindset is holding us back. For example, we may have a mindset of, this is just who I am. This is just how it is. Not helpful. This is just who I am does not exist around here because that is just not a helpful thought. It is not conducive to really anything but holding yourself back, and that is not what we're doing around here. Okay, so that just throw it out the window. Where do you have mindsets of it has to be this exact way, and if it's not this exact way, it's not even worth doing, right? Mindsets of all or nothing thinking. Either I'm doing my goal 100%, I'm working out every single day, or if I miss a day, then I'm just not doing it at all. So you can start paying more attention to your mindsets and just asking yourself, is this helpful? And if not, okay, cool. Time to pick a new one. Outside of mindset, we also want to look at the when, the where, the how, the environment, the social situation, who are we around? Again, to just really get a better understanding of our actions. What all is influencing why we're doing what we're doing? And you can use frameworks like this BTFAR one to help yourself with this. So in this one, B stands for beliefs, T stands for thoughts, F stands for feelings, A stands for actions, and R stands for results. And I personally like to throw a C in there for circumstances because our circumstances, like our mood, if we're really stressed, what our environment is like, etc., all plays a role in our actions as well. But we can use this to help us really get an understanding of what's happening. So for example, let's say you set a goal to cook for yourself so that you would eat more healthy homemade meals. You set that goal, but instead of cooking, you ordered takeout instead. Going through this exercise, we could look at A as the action. Action was you ordered takeout, you didn't cook. And then we can fill in the blanks from there. So the result of you not cooking is that you are not aligning with your goal of cooking healthy homemade meals. So then you can look at, okay, how was I feeling in that moment? I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling a little incompetent. We can look at, okay, what was the thought that led to that? The thought may have been, I just don't feel like it. I'm just going to order takeout. And then we can take a look at what the belief might have been. And maybe the belief was something like, I don't know how to do it right. And if I can't do it right, then it's not worth doing. So this framework can help you see how your thoughts and feelings and actions are all playing into each other. And then what you can also do after doing that exercise is to, on another sheet of paper or on the other side of the paper, write out that acronym again, and this time put in the action that you want yourself to take. And then think about things and reverse from there. Okay, what kind of feeling would help me take that action? What kind of thought would help me take that action? What kind of mindset or belief would help me take that action? And then you can even look at, okay, what kind of circumstances may support me actually taking that action? And it's definitely most helpful to do all of that, but honestly, you can take this and just do it in a way that feels most helpful for you. Personally, I believe that the thought portion of it is the most important, helping ourselves pick the thoughts that are actually going to get us to do the thing that is in alignment with what we want. It may take a little bit of practice to figure that out, but I promise you will figure it out. And just as a side note, your brain may tell you, oh, I already know what I'm doing. Like I already know that I'm not doing this thing or that I am doing this thing. But if you're continuing to show up in that way, that shows that you likely do not have the awareness or understanding that you think you do. So even if your brain says that, you don't have to believe it. Just understand that there are probably layers to it that you haven't quite figured out yet. There are things that you still don't have awareness of. It's also really helpful to try to understand what you are gaining or benefiting from doing this thing, or what kind of need you might be fulfilling by doing whatever it is that you're doing, as well as asking yourselves, okay, what am I avoiding? And more often than not, we are avoiding discomfort in whatever shape or form that discomfort is showing up as. But it's really helpful to at least have awareness of that, because if we're not super aware of it, then subconsciously that discomfort is holding us back from doing those things. But once we're more aware of them, then we can understand, oh, I'm just uncomfortable. I'm just trying to avoid the discomfort of X, Y, or Z. And then we can hold ourselves through that discomfort. We can remind ourselves it is okay to be uncomfortable. I can still do this thing. It can also be super helpful to increase our self-concept, to increase our self-trust, to increase our self-efficacy. And one of the ways that you can do this is to set smaller goals that still require effort from you, but that you feel pretty confident and capable of doing. So for example, instead of setting the goal to eat healthier, you set goals like having a vegetable with your dinner. And then as you show up to those goals, you are showing your brain, hey, look, I am capable of following through. I am capable of doing something I told myself I was going to do. I'm capable of rising to the occasion and doing something slightly challenging. And that will help increase your self-trust and your belief in yourself. There are so many ways you can work on your relationship with yourself, your belief in yourself, ways to improve your self-esteem. That's definitely a much larger conversation though, but just understand that that will help you take action in alignment with the things that you want. If you're finding yourself avoiding doing the thing or coming up with excuses why you can't do the thing, or telling yourself something like you'll just do it later, then just pause. Pause and notice where you're at, and notice, what's happening? What's actually going on? Question your thoughts. What are you really avoiding? And then walk yourself back to, what do you really want? What type of person do you want to be? What types of actions and habits align with the things that you really want? And then you can choose to show up for yourself and choose thoughts that get you back on that track of being in alignment with the things that you want. Another thing you can do is take the thing that you no longer want yourself to be doing and replace it with something that feels more meaningful. Maybe something that better aligns with your values. Leaning on your values is such a helpful way to get yourself to do things that feel better to you. It's so helpful in actually changing your habits and behaviors. So for example, let's say after work you are super stressed, and so you go and buy yourself an indulgent cookie. Maybe working on some stress management will be really helpful here as well. But for the sake of this example, let's say you realize you're going and getting this indulgent cookie every day after work because you're seeking comfort, because you're so stressed. But you realize it doesn't make you actually feel that good. You don't like how tired and sluggish you feel afterward. You want to be healthier and it doesn't really align with that. So then you can play around with, okay, what maybe feels more meaningful that I can replace this with? Maybe you really value feeling good and supporting the health of your body. And so maybe something that would feel more meaningful to you would be to go and buy yourself a fun fruit that you love after work. Or maybe you sign up for some kind of exercise class that you really enjoy. Maybe you choose to seek comfort through spending time on a hobby that you really like. And to kind of play into that, it is super helpful to make the thing that you want to get yourself to do seem more attractive, and to make the thing that you don't want yourself to do as much seem more negative. Not in a negative like, oh, I shouldn't do this, but like a genuine like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And just understand that we are all fully capable of changing our thoughts and beliefs and our mindsets and what we desire, what we want, as well as who we are, our identity. So for example, I am a really big foodie, always have been. And at some point, I realized I really wanted to be someone who ate healthier, who had healthier eating habits. But I kept eating a bunch of food that was not really helpful in helping me feel better or supporting the health of my body. And one of the things that was the most helpful in getting me to actually change my habits with eating was to no longer see these, we're just going to call them like indulgent foods, even though healthy food can be very indulgent too. But taking these, we'll say, ultra-processed indulgent foods, and instead of them being on this pedestal of being really fun, I actually, in my own head, made them this negative thing, this like gross thing. I changed my mindset and perspectives to be where those were not things I desired anymore, and changed my thoughts and perspectives around healthy food as being something I genuinely really wanted and desired. So that can definitely be something that you play around with a little bit. Improving your emotional regulation will also be super helpful, and that's basically being able to notice and sit with your emotions rather than letting your emotions direct your actions. Practice allowing yourself to have and sit with uncomfortable emotions instead of always constantly trying to seek comfort or give into instant gratification. Instead of not working out or not cooking or not showing up to some of your work tasks just because you are feeling a certain way, you can acknowledge that you feel that way and be there for yourself and still get yourself to do the thing. And usually you'll feel better after anyway. It can also be super beneficial to make changes to our environment. Oftentimes, we don't even realize how much our environment impacts what we do. So as you're gaining more awareness and understanding of your behaviors and your thoughts and your mindsets and how they all kind of play into each other, you can also pay attention to, oh, how did my environment impact what I did? And then questioning, okay, what kind of adjustments can I make to my environment to help me actually do things that support my goals or help me actually show up to the type of actions I want to? And personally, I believe it can be so helpful to get so clear on what it is you actually want and so clear on what actions support that, and then choosing to prioritize those actions no matter what. And when you find yourself not doing those actions, that's when you really want to dig deeper into why, trying to gain understanding of what's really happening there. Because odds are that is probably some form of self-sabotage. But with that awareness, you can choose to set a certain standard for yourself and really decide to show up for yourself in that way. And the last thing I have for you today is to aim for incremental changes. So instead of going from, okay, I am this type of person right now, to okay, I'm never going to self-sabotage again. I personally recommend thinking about things more in terms of changing the frequency. So aiming to do the things that support your goals more often instead of setting up the expectations for yourself that you're just going to always do them all the time now. So that is what I have for you today. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, please give it a like. Please let me know what you found helpful in the comments below or if you have any questions. But thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.